Hello, anybody that is interested in this kind of stuff. I decided that I would like to start sharing a little bit of my fish room on YouTube. So at first, I'm going to go over this basic, kind of classic breeding fish for profit tank I have going here. Talk a little bit about what's going on in here. So this is a strain of guppies that I originally bought at an auction, the Motor City Aquarium Society auction, a couple years ago now, probably 3-4 years ago, as black Moscow guppies. It was one of those situations where we bought a couple pair, and by the time we were home, we probably had 75 guppies, because they were big females ready to pop. But as those first group kind of grew out, they became clear that they weren't very true black Moscow, and I was never really able to get the line black. So what I've been doing with it over some time is going for this blue-green variety, which was pretty prevalent, and some of these males look pretty decent. Over time, it was apparent that the line as a whole was pretty weak. The tail on a lot of the males was a little too extreme and too, fragile. So I have, in the last year or so, crossed in some of these half black red delta tail guppies to try to straighten the line. As you can see, kind of going up out of the left corner there a moment ago. We'll see if we can focus back in on that male. So over the last several months, I've been getting fewer and fewer of that kind of color pattern, or the weird mix, and a more and more straight color pattern. When I get those that show the half black red delta tail kind of guppies, I've just been picking them out and giving them to a local fish store or giving them away to another hobbyist. They're a nice looking guppy. They're just not what I'm kind of line breeding in this tank for. And there's been some improvement to the other guppies' tails. You can see some of the males still are a little bit chewed up, but a lot of them are getting to be a better place, and now I'm working more on the color over time. And I move a little slower than maybe some guppy breeders would on this kind of thing, because how I kind of work these lines is I go to the auction, or I take a handful out to move, and I kind of pick through some of the least ideal ones, to try to keep some of the fish that I think look for what I'm aiming for. So it's a slower process than if I was taking the couple fish and specifically breeding them together. It's more of a colony culling type thing, where I don't get many bent spines or anything, but just the colors and the tail shapes and stuff that I don't want, I pull and kind of sell separately. There's a female up front that's showing that half black coloring. Also going on in this tank, as you've probably seen at this point, is I have the super red bristlenose plecos breeding. You can see in this tank here that the male is finning a little, or fanning some eggs. He's got a clutch actively in there. But I've got 2 or 3 males in here breeding. I don't have many larger fry in this tank because I was only gloring them out in here recently. Some of those are probably about the biggest. That's maybe, a month or so old at most. But I was pulling the fry as they were hatching and moving them to a grow-out tank. But I'm going to try to keep them in here from here on out with the guppies. Until recently, I did Vallisneria in this tank as well, but what I've done just recently is try to start switching to that guppy grass. So hopefully in a little bit this will take over the tank. It should help with the kind of large fish population, keeping the nitrates low. That's kind of the ideal behind it. So I'll leave the comments open. If you have any other questions, go ahead and ask. Obviously it's got a couple sponge filters going for filtration. This is a 55-gallon tank, and it runs at like 77 degrees. So got any other questions? Hit me up in the comments, and I'm going to try to do a tank or two a month.